Okay, so this is going to be my last outdoor vlog for a while. It's pretty bitter cold, but it's nice and sunny. So yeah, today I'm just going to have a short talk about the whole secret society issue and all these occult orders, and from the Masons, OTO, there's so many of them, the Rosicrucians. Sorry, I got to hold this down though, because it's cold. My hand's getting cold. So basically, I have a wide range of experience in encountering people who are part of these groups just because of where I was living in the Pacific Northwest. I lived in Portland for a long time. So I encountered some people there. I encountered here and there people who I found out were Masons. Some of them were nice, some of them weren't. Same with the OTO people and all of the different groups. I had a friend who joined the Rosicrucians like a few years after I met him and knew him for a while. And most of the people that I knew that were friends of mine who got into group work like that, most of them joined because they were interested in the knowledge. But when I encountered a lot of that stuff at the beginning, it was kind of weird. And in my experience, I noticed the OTO people were very standoffish. I would go to parties sometimes where their people were there, and I also would just see people around town and at different events and things like that. And I found them to be the most standoffish. When it came to dealing with the Masons and things like that later on, I had a boyfriend who turned out to be a Mason. It was a short-lived relationship, and he was extremely good-looking. I mean, too good-looking. It should have been a clue, given me a clue that something was wrong. He was interested in me for all the wrong reasons, too. So, my experience with the Masonic organizations is that they're very gang-stalky, that the Masonic lodges seem to have really been infiltrated and taken over by this nasty kind of consciousness that's very greedy and materialistic. At least a lot of what I've encountered and what I've noticed in the media and Hollywood and all that kind of crap. I mean, I've studied a lot of the Masonic knowledge and texts and sacred geometry and all of that, and I don't think that all of that's inherently bad. It's just I've noticed that a lot of the Masonic identified lodges seem to have a lot of that knowledge is just being used to control the infrastructure, to control, and kind of it seems like the Masons want to psyop a lot. That seems to be their deal as well. But so this Mason boyfriend that I dealt with, I mean, he seemed to be connected to dirty cops or something. He made claims, and I noticed that he was able to get his phone disconnected very quickly. Normally you call the phone company and order a disconnect, and it would take a while. I know because I went through that. And him, it was no time at all. He got a fake ID really quickly. He was just a real shady dude. And at the time, I just thought Masons were another occult order, and another, I just thought, that people just joined that like anything else, and I didn't realize how it had become part of sort of like an organized crime syndicate. So anyway, a lot of Masonic judges and Masons in law enforcement, even though I've met really nice people who are Masons. So it's like with Christians too, I can't say one way or the other if they're going to be a good person or a bad person, but what I've noticed is that no matter what group or organization I'm looking into, unless it's pretty tight and small, if it's a religion or something that just has a lot of people involved, like the Masons and whatnot, it's going to tend to be populated by some goons and some vampiric types. So everybody has their shadow, and so, a lot of times Christians are demonizing all the different, secret societies and occultists out there, and they're not cleaning up their own house, and a lot of the occultists are taking a huge amount of advantage of people who don't have any access to this kind of knowledge. I mean, basic use of colors and music, and the Masons are really abusing the Muggles through the media. And it's interesting, when the word Muggle came around, I was like, oh, that's what they are, because it all, when I looked into it all and I realized that the word mug had been British slang for the word for dupe, or somebody's fool. Basically, it kind of made sense where all the term muggle came from, and I think that J.K. Rowling was already very Masonically inclined when she wrote those books. So, and they're interesting. There's a lot of interesting things about those books that kind of reveal the attitude that I think reflects a lot of the way that the Masons see the rest of the population, and people who get involved in secret societies and whatnot are tempted into abusing their knowledge. And ego doesn't go away when you get initiated. It doesn't. And so my own experience with initiation was that I shunned the OTO, I shunned Masons, I shunned everybody. I didn't join any groups, especially at the beginning. I've done group work before, but I haven't belonged to any groups in any kind of official way in an exoteric sense. Most of the work I've done I was initiated through experiences that were connected to the inner planes, and also through my experiences with extraterrestrials and other types of energies and beings and whatnot. That whole encounter was part of an initiatory process that was a self-initiation, which ultimately all initiation is self-initiation. Even though you may have an initiator, that person is triggering that which is within you. But in a lot of the more materialistic and darker types of orders, and a lot of these shitty Masons, they're initiating people and attaching entities to them. They're attaching thought forms. They're taking that person's they're taking a piece of that person's will. And so you have to be really careful what you get involved with and join. But for me personally, it's been about, gaining knowledge through my own process, and also working with people in as much of a capacity as I can. I have, worked with people, and I've done ceremonies and things like that. But for the most part, I've been really selective about that, and I've even had some bad experiences. And nevertheless, it's all been a learning experience. And if you're wise, you can sort of connect with people through spirituality and do work in that sense without having to compromise yourself energetically. So anyway, I guess I'm done talking. Sun's starting to go down. So I will be back with some more crap later.